We're back. Stargirl chapter 24 coming right at you. Let's see what Leo is going to decide here, and what in the world did Stargirl do? The last sentence of chapter 23, it says, then she did something that made pretending impossible. Well, hey, let's find out. Chapter 24. Roadrunner. No one said the word to me directly, but I kept hearing it since I arrived at school one day, several days after the kiss on the sidewalk. It seemed more dropped behind than spoken, so that I kept walking into it. Roadrunner. Was there something on the plywood Roadrunner that I should read? I had study hall coming up third period. I'd look into it then. In the meantime, I had second period Spanish. As I headed for my seat, I looked out the window, which faced the courtyard. There was something written on the Roadrunner all night, but I wouldn't have to go outside to read it. I could read it from here. I could read it from a low-flying airplane. White paper? No, it was a bed sheet, covered the whole bird. Painted on the sheet in broad red brushstrokes was a Valentine heart enclosing the words, Stargirl loves Leo. My first impulse was to drag the Spanish teacher to the window and say, look, she loves me. My second impulse was to run outside and rip the sign away. Until now, I'd never been the target of her public extravagance. I felt sudden, strange kinship with Hilary Kimball. I understood why she had commanded Stargirl not to sing to her. I felt spotlighted on her bare stage. I couldn't concentrate on my schoolwork or anything else. I was a mess. At lunch that day, I was afraid to look out at her. I counted one blessing. I had not yet worked up the nerve to sit with her each day. I kept stoking my conversation with Kevin. I felt her presence, her eyes, 3 tables to my left. I knew she was sitting there with Dory Dilson, the only friend who had not deserted her. I felt the faint tug of her gaze on the back of my neck. Ignoring my wishes, my head turned on its own, and there she was, smiling to the beat of the band, waving grandly, and horrors! Blowing me a kiss. I snapped my head back and dragged Kevin out of the lunchroom. When I finally dared to look again at the courtyard, I found that someone had torn the sign away. Thumbtacks at the corners pinned up 4 white scraps of bedsheet to the plywood. I managed to avoid her by taking different routes between classes. But she found me after school, came shouting after me as I tried to slink away. Leo! Leo! She ran up to me, breathless, bursting, her eyes sparkling in the sun. Did you see it? I nodded. I kept walking. Well? She was hopping beside me, punching my shoulder. What'd you think? What could I say? I didn't want to hurt her feelings. I just shrugged. Wow, that impressed, huh? She was mocking me. She reached into her bag and pulled out a rat. Maybe he's shy, Cinnamon. Maybe he'll tell you how thrilled he was to see the sign. She set him on my shoulder. I yelped. I swept the rat off and sent him flying to the ground. She scooped him up and stroked him, all the while staring at me dumbstruck. I could not face her. I turned and walked alone. She called, well, I guess you don't want to hear me practice my speech, huh? I did not answer. I did not look back. The next day I was faced full impact of the sign. I thought I had truly suffered from the spillover of Stargirl's shunning, but that was nothing now that the full torrent was turned on me. Of course, Kevin, thankfully, talked to me. So did a few other friends, but the rest was silence. A dead desert imposed upon the one I had already lived in, where high was as rare as rain. I came to the courtyard in the morning before the bell, and I saw that there were backs of heads. People shouldered past me, calling others. Doors closed in my face. There was laughter. There was fun. But it skipped over me like a flat stone on water. One morning, as I was running a teacher's errand, I saw someone named Renshaw walking across the courtyard. Barely knew the kid, but we were only two in the courtyard. And at that moment, I had to speak, touch the stove that I knew was hot. Renshaw! I called. There was no other voice but mine. Renshaw! He never even turned, never wavered, never slowed down. He kept walking away from me, opened the door, and was gone. So what? I kept telling myself. What do you care? You never speak to each other. What's Renshaw to you? But I did care. I couldn't help myself from caring. At that moment, there was nothing more that I wanted in the world than just a nod from Renshaw. I prayed that the door would burst open and he'd be there saying, "Sorry, Borlock, wasn't listening. What'd you want?" But the door stayed closed. And I knew what it felt like to be invisible. "I'm invisible," I said to Kevin at lunch. "Nobody hears me. Nobody sees me. I'm like the friggin' Invisible Man." Kevin just looked at his lunch and wagged his head. "How long is it going to go on?" I demanded. He shrugged. "What did I do?" My voice was louder than I intended. He chewed. He stared. At last, he said, "You know what you did?" I stared at him like he was crazy. I badgered him some more. But of course, he was perfectly right. I knew exactly what I had done. I had linked myself to an unpopular person. That was my crime. You know, it's interesting here as we read the end of 24. Leo had a hard time making the decision. Obviously, he has chosen to get rid of Stargirl for the time being. He totally threw Cinnamon off his shoulder. But now that Stargirl's against him, you know, the whole school's against him too. Like, I think that it's not getting better in any corner now. You know, we'll see how Leo reacts to this. And how's Kevin going to deal with this? You can even see in this scene here, he's not talking much to him. He's shrugging. He's, staring at him. It says right there in the last page here on 132. So, like, he's losing his best friend. Now, how is he going to react to this? Is he going to turn back to Stargirl? Is he going to continue? Who knows? Right? So let's go ahead and move on to chapter 25 and find out exactly what's going on with Leo, with Stargirl, with all the characters here. Thank you so much for listening on YouTube, and God bless.